I'm Bree, Director of Special Projects at Stepwell Strategies. I'm going to take you through Module 6, Crafting a Compelling Narrative. So far in this series, we've developed our objectives, a budget, a work plan, and identified key metrics. Now it's time to articulate the narrative or pitch around your project. Think of your narrative as an organization or business pitch. This is your chance to convince the reviewer of the importance and necessity of your project. You need to write with conviction, understanding, and substantiate your claims with research. Use your narrative to clearly articulate the need for this work. Let's revisit our Very Good Farmers, Thistle and Thorn. They've created a strong project work plan and budget, and they've identified their desired impacts and outcomes. Now it's time to take all that planning and roll it up into a compelling pitch.
Here is our agenda for this module. We'll delve into the art of pitching your ideas, starting with exploring the power of storytelling and how it can bring your narrative to life. To practice, we will use the inverted triangle technique to frame your story effectively. The inverted triangle technique is a tried and true writing method where the most important information is presented first, followed progressively by less important details, essentially structuring the content like an upside-down triangle. Next, we'll discuss the importance of justifying your ask in terms of budget and work plan. And we'll talk about how you can back up your statements with solid research and data. Finally, we'll explore the review process and strategies to ensure your narrative resonates with the reviewers. By the end of this module, you'll be equipped to craft persuasive pitches that captivate the grant reviewer audience. The first step to crafting a strong narrative is to clearly articulate your project's purpose and intent. Help the reviewers understand what your farm, food, or organization is and what you will do through this project. State what you are currently doing and what you plan to achieve in a single, powerful statement. For example, our Very Good Farmers could say something like, the Very Good Farm will increase production, build local networks, upgrade infrastructure, enhance value, expand market reach, and evaluate strategies to boost sustainability, profitability, and community food security.
This opening statement should highlight what sets your farm or business apart and your growth strategy. Clearly communicate your farm's identity and future direction.
Okay, let's dive into the storytelling basics of your grant application. Imagine you are a seasoned business owner pitching your idea to a potential investor. You want to highlight what makes your idea or project a perfect fit for this grant program. It is a good time to revisit the grant program's priorities and guidelines. Dig back into the NOFO, RFA, or RFP. What are the reviewers really looking for? Is it supply chain resilience, climate smart initiatives? Whatever it is, make sure your story emphasizes those key points, or what is often referred to as priorities. As you write your narrative, remember to emphasize why your project is a good fit for the program. You've already aligned your objectives, work plan, and budget with the program's goals. Now, it's time to articulate that alignment in a compelling way.
Next, let's talk about terminology. Pay close attention to the specific words and phrases used in the grant guidelines. Use them in your application. It shows you've done your homework and you understand the program's goals. It also helps the reviewer draw connections between your project and the grant program.
Now, let's craft the perfect project title. Most grant programs have limited character or word counts for titles. Your title needs to be concise, clear, and summarize the main ideas. Remember, if you're selected, your title and executive summary may be public on a USDA website, so choose wisely. For example, the Very Good Farm has chosen the Very Good Farm, expanding production, aggregation, and distribution networks to meet demand and access new markets. This is our module's activity. It is called an inverted triangle exercise. You may be familiar with it from other writing applications. This approach is generally applicable to writing news stories and business pitches. At the top of your triangle, start with a powerful statement, like the one we just crafted on the Making the Pitch slide. This statement should encapsulate the most crucial information, answering the who, what, where, and why of your project. It lays out the foundation for your organization's story, how you've arrived at this point, and it explains how you are poised and ready to take on the next step.
As you move down the triangle, dig deeper into specific situations, components, or factors that have accumulated into the perfect conditions to make this project successful. Present this information in a clear and concise and compelling way. This will provide the reviewers with a roadmap for your journey from your past to your present and ultimately meeting your future goals through this project.
Here, in the middle section, you'll describe the need for your project, not just in terms of how it will affect your farm or business, but why your community and stakeholders as a whole need this.
For example, the Berry Good Farm has been experiencing a lot of new demand for their berries that they have thus far been unable to meet. Furthermore, neighboring berry farms have expressed that they too are unable to consistently meet market demand or break into larger, more consistent markets due to lack of quantity and distribution limitations. Essentially, demand is outstripping supply and distribution, thus creating a barrier for both buyers and suppliers. This is an excellent reason to invest. With grant funding, they can begin to aggregate berries from neighboring farms, as well as turning them into shelf-stable, value-added products, such as IQF freezing, therefore meeting rising demand and entering new wholesale markets, increasing profitability for multiple farms in the area. This is a compelling argument for the Berry Good Farms project. To bolster your claims, provide relevant research and data. We'll discuss research methods later in this module.
Essentially, this section is the heart of your narrative, and it should be packed with valuable information, including describing how your project strategies link to grant program priorities and goals. Here is the Berry Good Farm example. The Berry Good Farm is a budding organic blueberry farm in Oregon who is poised for growth. Their goal is to expand operations and strengthen their local agricultural community. This project enhances their farm's viability and empowers neighboring farms by doing things like expanding the farm's acreage, investing in new equipment, implementing innovative freezing and storage techniques, and more. By taking these steps, the Berry Good Farm will increase their own production and also offer vital services to their neighbors. Next, as we move down the triangle, they talk about why this is needed and how the efforts will multiply investment. For example, blueberry aggregation and flash freezing will open up new markets, ensuring the sustainability of their entire berry farming community. Their initiative addresses a critical need in their region. They back this up with research, and they state specific needs like improving farm profitability, strengthening local food supply systems, and contributing to more resilient agricultural landscapes. Their initiative directly addresses a critical need in their region. Then they go on to link it back to research. Some examples are, research has shown that by adding value-added processing, producers can increase profitability by X%. That is a really good way to show impact. So for each statement, be sure to back up your claim with substantive research and evidence. Cite any relevant research or statistics to support the claim. And last, you'll want to link the project's outcomes and strategies with the grant program priorities and goals. So at this point, the Berry Good farmers have their work plan, budget, and metrics, and they have aligned everything with the grant program and priorities. Now you are simply writing narrative that reinforces what you've already clearly defined in those other grant components. As you are writing your narrative, be sure you justify the ask. It is essential that you touch on your budget request and that the narrative ties together the entire application. This is where you'll build upon and justify your work plan and budget. Explain why you need the funding and how your approach aligns to the grant's goals. Your story should resonate with the grant's priorities, positioning your project as a perfect fit. It is also a great strategy to connect your project to the organization's broader mission. This will strengthen your narrative and highlight the project's impact. Additionally, linking your project to an immediate or urgent need can make a compelling case for funding. Remember, your narrative is the foundation for your grant application. It should clearly articulate your project's goals, your approach, and the impact it will make. I want to touch on project impact and how to talk about who benefits from the funding beyond just the lead applicant's organization or business. When discussing your project's impact, consider mentioning specific beneficiaries or stakeholders. For instance, in the case of the Very Good Farm, neighboring farms and local co-ops stand to benefit from their project. Their farms can now aggregate products through the Very Good Farm, leveraging new value-added processing infrastructure and expanded market access. Perhaps these new markets include a local school where hundreds of students now have access to local blueberries, or a local food co-op where consumers of all age can purchase blueberries year-round. All of this goes a long way in justifying government investment in your project. Many grants include sections specifically designed to identify and quantify your project's impact on various stakeholders. You can utilize your metrics to illustrate the impact, pulled directly from the metric examples given in Module 5 of this grant writing series. Next up, let's talk about the importance of research. As mentioned earlier, when you make a statement to show impact or need, it is crucial that you quantify it and back it up. Be sure to use reliable data to illustrate the demand or need for your project. Here are some tips for utilizing research effectively within your narrative. Use impartial or third-party data. This adds credibility to your claims. You can also use internal surveys, local food assessments, and more. Next, quantify your project's impact. Clearly identify and quantify the number of beneficiaries or stakeholders, reach, distribution miles or radius, or number of buyers. This includes tangible and intangible benefits. Next, use relevant statistics. Utilize data from sources like the U.S. Census, economic development studies, consumer reports, and of course, the USDA. The USDA often appreciates seeing their own data used as it demonstrates that your project aligns with their identified needs.
Be sure that you include some way to cite your research. Often it is good to understand the grant formatting or ask a representative for best practices around works cited. It can be embedded in your narrative as a footnote or as a link, or it could be an entire bibliography. It really depends on the grant. Regardless, be sure that you are citing your work and using best practices according to the particular grant you are applying for. By incorporating strong research into your narrative, you can create a compelling case for your project and increase chances of securing funding.
All right, let's discuss the review process. Most grant guidelines include a scoring criteria or rubric. Use this to self-assess your application. In most cases, your reviewers will be USDA or state-level grant reviewers. As you review your own grant, consider their perspective and what they are looking for, and make it easy for them to score your grant. Clear statements that link to grant priorities go a long way. A well-written and organized grant will score better. Also, consider having a third-party reviewer read over your grant. An outside perspective can be immeasurably helpful. Having someone internal or external review your grant using the program's scoring criteria is another way to assess points. A fresh perspective can always identify areas of weakness, strengthen your narrative, and ensure your application is clear and concise. Our third-party reviewer could also assess the overall comprehensibility of your grant. ensuring that your ideas are well articulated and easy to understand. Remember, a well-written, well-organized grant application is more likely to be favorably reviewed and score higher. All right, let's recap what we've covered in this module. We've explored the art of crafting a strong project pitch, including storytelling basics, an inverted triangle framework, justifying your budget requests, substantiating claims with research, and conducting a peer review process. What's next? Module 7 will dive into the final steps, assembling and submitting your proposal, and we'll continue to follow our Very Good Farmers as they navigate that process. Other resources and supplemental materials to go along with this module, inverted triangle template, and a few examples of scoring criteria. For the complete set of modules in the Learn As You Go grant writing course, please visit the Regional Food Business Center in Northwest and Rocky Mountain Region's website. There, you'll find all 8 modules, along with any accompanying resources, templates, and more. I hope you enjoyed this course and continue your grant writing journey. Thank you.